Good day, everybody. This is Yin Yang in California with Morsels of Thought number 1692. Today is a Words and Wisdom Wednesday, and I want to use my own words today, and I'm going to quote a few people later, but uh, first of all, I want to say that Wednesdays I put in some of my own thinking, and there's a check mark in this particular live show because it will probably offend some people because there is a problem with the news. The news, Fox News. Fox News is an entirely made up news concept. They do make up a lot of untruths, and I don't watch them because they are completely, to me, they are completely ridiculous. In Chinese, we would call it 离谱,太离谱了. Fox News on Channel 2 in my area is completely 离谱, meaning ridiculous. I think that when Trump was around the first time, he separated children from families and he put people into cages. And also, he is a white supremacist. He I feel that he wants to make me feel unwelcome. What happened was in the first time that he was president, the COVID vaccine, the COVID disease, coronavirus disease, COVID-19 came out, and he said that's the China virus, the China virus, the China virus. It sounded like Chinaman, Chinaman, Chinaman to me. I would have preferred that he had said, if he would have said, the Chinese virus, the Chinese virus, the Chinese virus. I would have accepted that third statement from him as a statement, a regular neutral statement of his own opinion. But when he did Chinaman, 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 China virus, China virus, China virus, China virus, I was really offended. And I think that a lot of people took that to mean that I would be unwelcome in this country because my skin is yellow. I am not white, I am yellow. Some people mistake Asians for being grouped among white people. And that is some kind of, it's very telling how that happens. But anyhow, I believe that Trump is incompetent. He made downtown a racist place for me to walk. Somebody said, "Oh, yeah, you're straight from Wuhan." Oh, yeah, now you can pronounce a Chinese city. Jeez. Each day right now in Trump 2.0, he does something in the world that would become in any other administration, it would have become the negative talking point every single day. Each day he does a new one. Each day. See, he's done 70 some new ones. He's been around since 70 days. And he himself, by the way, wants to remove mail in votes. But by the way, he himself is a mail in voter because of the convenience. So I also have something else I want to say about him. He's a narcissist. He wants to take control of all the police. He wants to make it seem like a regular thing that he takes over the police in every city. He actually changes laws every day. Each day he changes some kind of law that isn't within the bounds of the Constitution or the Congress or the judicial branch. There is also the fact that while he was taking a vaccination, he was telling the country not to. What was he trying to do? Kill us? That is really bad. And daily, he accuses the Democrats of not doing the very thing. I'm sorry. He chooses something that he's doing, which the Democrats are not doing, and accuses the Democrats of doing it so that it's loud on paper. And it looks like the Democrats are doing it, but actually the person doing it is himself. So, what I also want to say is that Harris won the election. The AI that Musk uses affects every single precinct in the country. There were 2 hours when the election machines went dark during the election this time. They went dark for 2 hours. Nobody could do anything on them because AI was putting in a graph for every city where Trump's voters would suddenly all come and vote for him. In other words, they changed 70% of the votes from Harris to Trump. If you looked at a graph, you go to, what's his name again? Brian Taylor Cohen. Try looking at him. He's got quite a few programs on his podcasts. He's got Democracy Now. He's got um, several different shows like I do. And the thing is that Musk AI'd it. He AI'd it. If you look at what he said in Pennsylvania, he said about Pennsylvania, he said, oh, the Pennsylvania votes were a landslide. Thank you, Elon, he says. Huh, what do you know? What do you know? So I want to pull up the 25th Amendment because that amendment should be what we use on him now. I'm going to read parts of it to you. There are 4 sections in it. That it talks about presidential succession and competency. The president himself can write a letter to Congress and say that he is no longer able to uh, commit the duties of the presidency, or 2/3 of Congress, in other words, 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate, must vote to have him put out of office. That's a 2/3 vote. Right now, we barely have any half. So that won't happen. Congress will not be able to in the semi near future. But if we could get him to admit that he is losing it, then perhaps we could you see, where's the 25th Amendment? Gosh, don't have it in here. What are you kidding me? 25th Amendment. I wrote, oh no, it's not in here. Okay, I can't read it to you. There are 4 sections, and we need to use them on him. I think that I'm disabled and I am unable to work full time. So what happens is he cuts welfare, or what we used to call welfare generations ago, and he cuts it so that I would go homeless or have no rent money to pay rent. And I would go homeless and I would go hungry and I would be dirty and I would look like with no dignity again. It would not be good. I have done it before and it's not fun. So, in Words and Wisdom Wednesday, I am talking about Trump. I take what he does to mean to be that he is a white supremacist. He actually fought with the Secret Service took him downstairs, put him in a car, and said he needed to be away from the Capitol, away from the building where the insurrection was. He wanted to go there. And the Secret Service man would not drive him there. So he jumped from the back seat and wrestled with the Secret Service to try to get him to go. And he was very, very undignified that time. Let me see. My my Gmail is supposed to pull up uh the Okay, it's not here. Is it here? Oh, here. Okay. 25th Amendment. Here we are. I'm going to read parts of it to you it's from the Wikipedia English en.wikipedia.org. And excuse me while I look it up. It's going to load, so I will speak while it's loading. Um, the guy is a narcissist and he's also incompetent. He's a lot like a fascist. He is taking over the government as much as he can. Look at it. Okay, so in case of the removal of the president from office or of his death or resignation, the vice president shall become president. Section 2. Whenever there is a vacancy in the office of the vice president shall nominate a vice president who shall take office upon confirmation by a majority vote of both houses of Congress. Majority vote. It's simple majority. So 50% plus one. Okay. Section 3. Whenever the president transmits to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives his written declaration that he is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, and until he transmits to them a written declaration to the contrary, such powers and duties shall be discharged by the vice president as acting president. Okay. Now, section 4 says, whenever the vice president and a majority of either the principal officers of the executive departments or of such other body as Congress may by law provide transmit to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives the written declaration that the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting president. Thereafter, when the president transmits to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives his written declaration that no inability exists, he shall resume the powers and duties of the office unless the president and a majority of either the principal officers of the executive department or of such other body as Congress may by law provide, transmit within 4 days to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. Thereupon, Congress shall decide the issue, assembling within 48 hours for the purpose if not in session, if the if not in session, if the Congress within if not in session, if the Congress within 21 days after receipt of the letter writ the latter written declaration, or if Congress is not in session within 21 days after Congress is required to assemble, determines to by 2/3 vote of both houses that the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall continue to discharge the same as acting president. Otherwise, the president shall resume the powers and duties of his office. So the first part it clarifies that the enumerated situations the vice president becomes president instead of merely assuming the powers and duties of the presidency as acting president. It operates automatically without without needing to be explicitly invoked. Section 2 provides a mechanism for filing a vacancy in the vice presidency before the 25th Amendment. A vice presidential vacancy continued until a new vice president took office at the start of the next presidential term. The vice presidency had become vacant several times due to death, resignation, or succession to the presidency, and these vacancies had often lasted several years. Section 3 allows the president to voluntarily transfer presidential authority to the president or to the vice president, for example, in anticipation of a medical procedure, by declaring in writing his inability to discharge the presidency's powers and duties. The vice president then assumes those powers and duties as acting president. The vice president does not become president. The president remains in office without authority. The president regains these powers and duties upon declaring in writing the ability to discharge them. Section 4 addresses the case of a president who cannot discharge the powers and duties of the presidency, but also cannot or does not execute the voluntary declaration contemplated by Section 3. It allows the vice president, together with a majority of either the principal officers of the executive departments or of such other body as Congress may by law provide, to have a written declaration, to issue a written declaration that the president is unable to discharge his duties. When such a declaration is sent to Congress, the vice president immediately becomes acting president, while the president remains in office, temporarily divested of authority. Okay, so here we go. If the president subsequently issues a declaration claiming to be able, then a 4-day period begins during which the vice president, oh dear God, there's so many things, the historical background, you can read this. And I've read it because I believe that it should be invoked upon him. He is not acting like a president. He doesn't speak well. He cannot remember things. He changes his mind on camera. Putin and him, Trump, during the Senate summit that they had in Alaska, Trump actually said, "I'm in Russia," when he was really in Alaska. The US bought Alaska from the Russians in, I forgot what year, 1902, or I can't remember what year, but Alaska is part of the United States. And the other part of the issue, even Fox News commented and was shocked by, is that when the president and the Russian premier president came out of their summit, they came to their podiums, but instead of the usual where President Trump would be speaking, Putin spoke a lot and kept going and kept going and kept going. And Trump kind of looked at him and said, "Oh, yeah, mail-in registrations. Yeah, mail-in voting. That shouldn't happen." He said that because Putin said that. However, if you think about it, Putin is not a member of the free world. So, what in the world? This is where you go to Brandy Tyler Cohen, and take a look at his live shows. And I hate it when I do that. I hate it when I look up in the air. Sorry about that. In Chinese, it's called Baiyan. I hate it when I look up and do that. It doesn't look good. Sorry. Um, so Putin is not qualified to talk about free and fair elections. And so if you get information from him and decide to follow his instructions, I mean, Trump does not even have the authority to take away mail in ballots. But here's the problem. I think there are goons in the back scenes. I think that there are goons at every senator's house and at every House of Representatives house to make sure, especially the Republicans, that the Republicans do not speak out against Trump. I think there are goons. I think the NRA has a lot to do with this mess because we have guns, and the guns that are being used or held by goons are the ones in power at this moment. I believe that Trump is a gang leader. I believe that he is one of those they call a Dai Lao in Cantonese. It's like the Hong Kong gangs. Dai Lao means oh, what is it called? Like in The Godfather, uh, the Don. That's right, the Don. So his name is interestingly the same as that. I think that his last name comes from somewhere in Central Europe. I'm not sure exactly where, but as a person, he started out normally. There is a film called The Apprentice. You have to pay to watch it, but The Apprentice, it's a film made by I think, a Persian American. And I think he had to film it somewhere in Persia. That's why I mentioned that. Uh, I think that it would be a good film to watch because you start to see how a normal, conscientious person turns into this narcissistic fascist Trump. We need to remove him from office. JD Vance is another wild card, but we are better off taking our chances with getting JD Vance into office as the president than we are in continuing with Trump's illegal moves every single day, and even his own Supreme Court, his own three-time nominated Supreme Court is against him in some cases, and he's trying to invalidate the appointment of Ketanji Brown. Is that crazy or not? That is absolutely crazy. So right now we're not living in good times, and according to the Tao, we are living in chaotic times. Uh, I can't remember which one it is, so we'll leave it. But the Tao says that when the leaders are buying weapons instead of food, then you are having a problem. When the leaders are only interested in gaining power and they are not looking at the people, you've got a big problem. So, right now, we are in the midst of a chaotic time. And I needed to say this because it was on my mind, and it's on my mind every single day. Every time I turn on the news, anytime I turn on the news, I see something about Trump, and that is a way for him to try to go for a third term. He said that, oh goodness, if we're in wartime, we can't have an election. Is that right? He said that to Zelensky because Zelensky happened to say that for his own country. And yeah, for his own country, the war is like every single person, every single man, woman, and child is in uniform. Whereas here, we're in peacetime. So he can't declare a war. He ought not to declare a war, which he is doing. Okay? Old Kinderhook.